Lawyers for Donald Trump said yesterday the former president has not been able to find anyone to lend him the money that he needs to appeal the $454 million civil business fraud judgment against him. His lawyers say they approached about 30 different bond companies through 4 separate brokers. They now believe that getting a bond for almost $500 million is a practical impossibility for Trump. If he wants to file an appeal, or if he chooses not to continue with an appeal and just wants to pay the judgment, he has less than a week now to come up with the money, or the state attorney general could begin to seize his assets. So a lot to consider there. We're joined for more insight on this by Adam Kaufmann, an attorney who specializes in white-collar crime. Good to have you back on the program.
Thanks, Pat. Nice to be here.
Just to start to leave Donald Trump's name out of this. When there is a case like this, when a lawsuit comes to a conclusion, when a judge hands down a decision, it's really at that moment that the defendant has lost. And Trump is at that moment trying to hold it off with an appeal, but the judgment stands against him right now.
That's right. I mean, when you're the defendant and you lose the case, the court enters a judgment against you, and then your opponent, the plaintiff in the case, has the ability to enforce the judgment against your assets, to take your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the stage that we're at, and he's trying to stave that off.
Right.
What are the options available to him and his legal team right now?
It's really sort of unprecedented to see a judgment this big against, normally you would see this with like a massive multinational corporation. Here we've got an individual with, while a very successful business empire in real estate, relatively, in these terms, small. And what the bonding companies have said is, we're not going to take real estate as assets to secure this loan.
Yeah, I mean, real estate in New York is not necessarily worth what it is on paper right now.
Well, and there's the whole case.
Well, yeah, that's true. So to put a bond up, they wanted either cash from him,
right,
or maybe some stocks or things like that
right,
that had a finite value.
Liquid.
And he didn't have that to offer to them.
He didn't have that to offer. I mean, he was successful in getting the Jean Carroll bond, the $90-some million bond. He got that successfully. But this one, which was going to be north of $500 million with interest, the surety company said no.
So there is a mechanism where he can appeal that bond amount and say, I don't think I should have to pay any bond,
right,
or I think I should have to pay $100 million bond. How does that process play out?
So he has made one application to, in New York, there's the appellate division, which is the intermediate appellate court, and the court of appeals, which is the high court. He made a pitch. He's at the intermediate appellate level now. And what he has said to the appellate court is, stay the enforcement, take some action with regard to the bond so that I can file my appeal and fight out the appeal without having to sell a building in a fire sale or take some other step that's going to drastically impact my business interests while we fight out the appeal.
Trump is really no better off if he were to look at this and say, well, maybe I won't appeal, because he still has to come up with the money if he doesn't appeal,
right. I mean, then he's selling buildings or coming, right, there's no reason to do that. The appeal at least buys him time. And the appellate court has a lot of discretion here. So they can really take a lot of steps to either cut the amount of the bond, say we don't need a bond, we're not going to require that type of undertaking. The civil practice laws in New York give the court a lot of authority and discretion.
And that's a separate process from the actual substance of the appeal.
That's right. This is just about, do I need to come up with a bond? Then the appeal saying the judgment was wrong, the amount of disgorgement was wrong, this law shouldn't apply to what I've done. Mm-hmm. That's the whole substantive appeal. But right now we're just fighting about, where am I going to come up with $500 million? Court, I don't need to do that.
Just a quick logistical question, not directly related to this particular amount. Judges try to work with plaintiffs and defendants to coordinate court calendars so people don't have to be in 2 places at once. This has got to be a lot for these lawyers with Trump.
They're running around quite a bit with all these different legal teams in all these different cases all over the place. It's a lot.
But there are some efforts to accommodate, to not require that 2 cases hit on the same day in all these different jurisdictions? I mean, how does that work? Yeah.
You know, I guess it depends on the judge. Some judges say me, me, me.
Okay.
Some judges might say it's really up to the guy in the black robe.
Good to have your insights this morning, Adam.
Thanks,
Thank
Pat.
you. Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. For more stories in your communities, click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV for the latest news and weather updates every 10 minutes and more. We'll see you then.